Hey there, YouTube. It's me, Broken Terrain, and I've got a fun, creative craft for you today. I made these totems for my orc village. You could make them for any village, of course. Come along, I'll show you how we did them right after the drop. Now I started this one the way I like to start many. I'll take a look at some reference shots and then just sketch a little bit in my sketchbook and see what I like. And then I made a prototype. I want to do 4 totems total, and I want them to be a little magical, so I've decided to base them off of the 4 elements: water, fire, wind, and water. To get started, I wish I had a 1-inch thick XPS foam. I did not, however. I wasn't going to let that stop me, so I cut a double wide piece of 1/2 inch, split it, fold it, hot glue it, and have roughly a 1-inch square pillar piece of XPS foam. Then with your X-Acto knife, go in, rough up the edges and corners, and try to smooth it out to a basic log shape, a long cylinder. Once you have the basic round shape, go ahead and cut one end perpendicular and flat so your totem can stand. Since I already had one to match, I'm going to hold it up alongside the other and then just mark out where my sections are. I'll transfer those over to the new totem about to be cut and trimmed, and I'll get to work. I've got some sped up footage of me drawing and then doing some basic cuts to get the falcon or eagle atop of my totem pole. Work slowly, sketch out your lines, and just keep removing the foam until you get the shape you want. I had imagined some other toppers for my totem poles, but the bird worked really well. The wings looked really good, and I don't know, don't fix what's not broken, right? So they all got an eagle or a hawk type bird on the top of the pole. But after that, everything started to vary. I wanted my totem poles not just to be decorational, but to have story elements to them as well. And I decided to do 4 totem poles, 1 each for the 4 elements. And this one you see on screen is the earth totem pole, and for the elemental picture just below the bird section on the totem pole, I am carving a tree. On the others, I'll do a flame, a wave, and a wind gust, and that's going to create my 4 elemental shapes for these totem poles. In the reference shots I looked at, there was a lot of patterns and symbols, and I thought I would give a good nod to the Warhammer 40,000 or 40K orcs and their often found checkerboard motif. So one of the sections of each totem pole will have the black and white checkerboard kind of carved in relief. And then the bottom of the totem poles, I tried to match the symbol on the bottom with the general idea of the element. I had a little hard time with this. 2 of them I really like. The water one has a fish with a waterscape wrapping around the bottom, and the fire one has a flame, a very cool flame motif going across the bottom. I would have loved to have done something similar with earth and wind, but I didn't think about it until they were already carved, and I didn't dislike them enough to recarve them. They are a ton of work. Although a very simple, cheap project, a ton of work doing all that carving and sculpting. I let them be. And then while I finished, I thought of the reasoning of why there might be a rough orc head and a fist on the air and earth totems, respectively. And it works. It works in my head, so heck with it. I do some wings for my eagles and hawks on the top, and this is to give that really cool look at the top of the totem. And these wings placed on the seam help hide the fact that this is two pieces of XPS foam glued together. And then, of course, down on a 1-inch fender washer. I don't like the way the fender washers work, and I will go back in and hide them with some clump foliage later. Once your totem's been all carved up, it's time to run over the totem with your pen and just create some wood grain. This wood grain is what sells this as a totem pole. Without the wood grain, it just looks like a very rough carved chunk of foam. But once you add this wood grain, everything screams totem pole, and I got the 4 of them all finished and was in love with them. I couldn't wait to get them painted up. So the first step, because they're foam, we need to strengthen and protect them. I hit them with the Black Magic base coat. That's half matte Mod Podge, half black acrylic paint. Then I go back in with a watered burnt sienna and just coat the whole darn thing. I figure this whole thing is wood, so just go crazy. Give it that wood base color. And now the fun part, and this really was a ton of fun. There was a lot of color to do on each of these totem poles, and they were all going to be very different because I wanted each one to represent a certain element and therefore focus on certain colors. This is the water totem. I do the wave in the light blue, and then I do the water all around the 2 fish at the very bottom in the same bright blue. And then finally, I'll come in and I'm going to hit the wing tips. I don't know it at this point, but I'm going to come back in and use different shades and different colors that work with this blue to do the feathers along the wings and things and give it a really cool look while still keeping with the overall blue watered theme. Here I've moved to the earth totem where I paint the fist in the green, and then I'm going to hit this tree, my elemental symbol, also with the same green. I'm going to hit the wing tips again as well, and I'm going to follow this common coloring scheme along the rest of them as well. I mean, the flames on the bottom of this fire totem ended up being one of my favorite parts of this project. With all of the color laid down, it was time to do the checkerboard. I did the white for the raised squares, and then I'll go back in and do the lowered squares with black. And this is to pay homage to all my orc brothers from 40K. Rah! Here they are, all painted up and looking amazing. And I almost didn't want to put a wash on them because I loved how bright and beautiful those colors were. But time for a wash. I used my homemade black, and I'm really glad I did. It tones and mutes the colors. It gets into all the nooks, crannies, and crevices, and really makes that wood grain stand out and pop. Once they were washed, it was time to hit them with a dry brush. I go back over with vanilla ice cream and just hit everything. You can see I've already done it, and here I am faking it for the camera. Again, I mentioned I don't like the way these fenders look, so I glue them to some quick little chip, let them have an overhang, just a little bit, and then I'm going to take some of my clump foliage and hot glue them down. And that is the end of this project. After they're completed, I'm going to go right to the continuation of Tinley and the Shamrock Boys. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you so much. Smash that like button, subscribe for more, and we'll get to the story. Thank you, everyone. The orcs have defeated Natasia's corrupted forest spirit outside the gate, and the orcs open up the doors and gather up the Shamrock Boys, leading them to the prison cart inside the village. Hurry up, little man. Step quickly. Head over to the cage where you belong, human. Ow, hey, don't poke me. I'm moving. Look smaller when up close.
What are they going to do to us, Captain? Tinley, is she okay? We need her.
The chief stood in victory next to his shaman.
I think you would be in order for me saving your life.
The captain ignored
man.
the chief and looked directly at the shaman herself. Please, you have to help her. There is something wrong with her spirit. I will take her to my tent and heal her. The chief looked at his shaman displeased, but still he relented. The captain handed Tinley over gently to one of the orcs, and the shaman motioned for him to follow. Come, bring her to my hut, and I will heal her spirit. The captain watched as Tinley was carried away to the shaman's tent, and he had a moment of relief. At least she would be okay. And as the orcs herded their human captives towards the cage, the chief couldn't help but mock the captain.
You're a weak little man, and you have weak friends, and you have a weak woman. Not like me, not like Orc. My shaman is strongest, and I am stronger than any man.
Says the beast, hiding behind a wall and siege equipment. You wouldn't dare face me by yourself.
How dare you? I'll show you.
And just like that, the captain found himself in a duel in the middle of the orc village. Blood still dripping from his mouth from his earlier wounds. This was it. This could be his death. He can't hold back any longer. And while these two titans faced off in the middle of the village, Natasia began to make her move. These stupid brutes will never see it coming. I'll find you, Tinley, and that crystal will be mine. And once I have it, the world will bow to me and my father and all demon kind. Oh no, it looks like the orcs and humans are so focused on each other, they completely forgot about the demoness. I hope that doesn't turn out to be a bad thing. Anyway, if you like this video, you like the story, give me a like. Go ahead and subscribe so you get more content just like this. Share with your family and friends, and I hope to see you again real soon. As always, like each other, love each other, and craft on.